Welcome to the 60 Plus Podcast.
I'm Janet.
And I'm Joe. How are you today, Janet?
Yay!
All right. For those regular listeners, when Janet responds like that, it means, not so great.
No, it's not true. I'm fine.
Are you?
I'm absolutely fine, Joe. How are you?
She's like clenching her fists. Well, I think it has something to do with the tech issues that we've experienced.
We've been having major issues.
What are we talking about today?
We have a special guest.
Special
A
guest.
special guest, not
Someone
just
that's
a regular guest.
Someone that's been associated with the 60 Plus Podcast for a long time.
Well, almost since the beginning,
Right,
really.
yes.
Yeah. And it's Sophia, who is our social media coordinator.
Sophia, now you know what it would sound like if Oprah said your name.
Come on.
I love it.
Sophia.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being on.
Welcome, Sophia.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Sophia is our social media coordinator, and she does a bang up job. And she's also used to be one of my students. Now she's all graduated and just got her first job, right, Sophia?
Yes. I will be
Besides
very
this one.
Thank
Besides this
you.
one.
Yeah, besides this one, of course.
So congratulations. That's exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah.
And I owe some credit to you, of course.
Well, no, I don't deserve any credit at all. You've done it all. She's amazing. Sophia is she's one of my best students ever.
I hope none
And-
of your
Oh,
other
you
students are
guys.
listening.
Oh, I love all my students.
So, Sophia, as our social media coordinator, what is it that you do?
A little bit of everywhere of the social media realm, I guess, from the content of, what's going to reach the most and who we're reaching. And then also afterwards, taking a look at the numbers of, hey, did that do well? Did that not do well? And why? And making some decisions about what could, reach better. And I think we started off with kind of some stagnant posts with not reels, and then
Right.
that really took off with
When you say reels, you mean Instagram reels, right?
Yes.
Instagram reels. Yes.
It's not an easy job because you've been like slowly building this up for us and, from ground zero, from nothing, really. We started from nothing to now trying to be on as many platforms as possible. So we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we have Facebook, and we're working on a website. You're
Yeah.
working on that for us too. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, and I have to say each platform is, very specific in what they want. And even in the meta world itself with Instagram and Facebook, it's fine tuning those little details to see what audio might be trending more on each different platform. And so that definitely for Reels, getting hooked for like the listeners to tune in and then, really hear you guys run from there. Because that's the end goal, right? Is to build a larger community of.
Yes, and we want to make sure everybody not only listens to us, but then follows us and shares the content with other people that they know that would benefit from it or enjoy it. So let's talk a little bit about that, because we do get some questions from our listeners about, well, how do I follow? How do I share? How do I get from an Instagram post to sending it to a friend? So would you mind, Sophia, kind of walking us through that so that, well, first of all, Joe and I understand it. Because when people ask us, they're like, oh.
Yeah, I could definitely do
That's
my
not
best
exactly
to
what I
provide.
say.
It's like, I don't know.
How can people follow and like us and do all that, Sophia?
I'll do my best to kind of create a visual. My descriptions might be vague, but definitely when you get on the platform itself, you'll start to notice the things I'm talking about. So if you're on Instagram, there's different pages that you can open up to. So you might be on your home, which is your home feed, not necessarily actually your profile. And so those are usually in the far bottom corners. And so
Yeah, and it looks like a little house, right?
yes,
Yeah.
this is like the most straightforward way is to search, which is that little just magnifying glass. Once you click that search bar at the top of that page, just search 60 plus podcast. You'll see the logo right away with the blue and red. Say you see a 60 plus podcast post and you're like, wow, this is great. I want to send this to whoever. Once you follow, I guess, then you can share posts when they come in your home feed without going to explore to search up the 60 plus podcast page, because they'll just pop up as you follow anybody. It's the same way.
I just want to also clarify to everybody that our podcast is free across any platform that you play it on. So, just to make sure everybody knows that.
You don't have to subscribe to Spotify, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah. So in Spotify, you do have to put the plus sign in. But on Instagram, you have to spell it out because you can't use plus signs on Instagram.
It's a test.
Yeah. So I guess the point is, and this is not the easiest thing, of course, but if you're not finding us with the plus sign, try and find us by spelling plus out and vice versa.
Right.
If somebody, and this has happened, I've had people ask me, they've seen the Instagram post and they're trying to figure out how to get to the podcast episode, or more importantly, how to just share the post with someone. So can you walk through those two scenarios?
So first, if they are trying to get to the episode to listen on Instagram and Facebook, that's where the difference lies, is that.
All right. So I actually went into not the top of the post. Jim's laughing at me. The poor Joe. This is what he has to deal with. This is why he does all the tech, people. So I actually went underneath and hit 60 plus.
Oh, great.
This is just an audio medium, right, Janet?
So I went to 60 plus. Okay.
That's great.
Okay, now I see the logo. There's a little bell.
The bell is a great tool.
Okay.
If you hit that bell and turn on notifications, then you're going to get notified.
Oh, cool.
When we post a new update, or it's very much like a little reminder of, hey, an episode was posted, or they posted on Instagram.
Oh, good. So everybody should do that. Everybody.
Yes. It makes it 10 times easier.
Okay.
Sophia, could you explain how this happens on a rotary dial cell phone like Janet has?
Come on.
First, you have to dial to the internet. Is that a thing?
Now you are making fun of me. As if you weren't before.
At least you got that.
Oh, you are gonna pay for that. Okay, now I've got that all done. So the bell is cool. Then there's 3 little dots. Those are nice. They don't really do anything for me. So now I'm on the profile page and I want to send it to somebody. I want to say, hey, you should listen to this podcast. Here's the profile page on Instagram. Or here's what do I do then?
You could share a post with a little, it kind of looks like a paper airplane, if you will.
Yep.
You could share a post that way.
Okay.
But on the actual profile of 60 Plus Podcast, if you're on the actual page and not a specific post, you will see kind of a follow button, and then next to it, a message button.
Yeah. Oh, so I do the message button?
So if you message, that will go to us. And so we'll open direct messaging with us. So you can talk to us and say, hey, I would love to hear about this topic for next episode, or share whatever thoughts you want there. But that's not actually where you want to share the page. So there's a difference here. When you're on the page, you do want to click those 3 dots in the corner. And it'll give you a lot of options.
And, even Joe is laughing hysterically at me. He probably didn't know any of this either. He just doesn't want to admit it.
This is why we have a social media coordinator, so I don't have to know it.
Exactly. So I'm just being honest and upfront about my inadequacies. Joe is trying
Are you really? And
masking them behind the veil of making fun of me. How's that for an analysis?
All right. So my analysis of the last 15 minutes of this discussion is we don't pay Sophia enough.
Agreed. Oh, wait, don't tell Sophia that.
Yeah.
All right. Sophia, you're the first person on the 60 Plus podcast who's under 60,
That's right.
right?
Yeah. She shouldn't be
I'm
allowed.
honored.
Oh, wait a minute. No, the hemp lady.
Oh,
Gina.
that's true. Gina.
Gina was
Okay.
sorry,
All right.
Sophia.
So you're the second.
Actually, no. She's the first Gen Z
Ah.
guest.
All right.
Okay, that's the clarification.
Something about
right
being the
there.
best generation. What was that?
So,
Oh, wait a minute. I thought that was the boomers.
so Sophia, speaking for
Yes.
all Gen Zers across
Oh
the
boy.
across the
Oh,
world,
wow. This is a big
it
opportunity.
is. What do Gen Zers think of boomers like Janet and me?
And don't worry, you won't lose your job.
Yeah, can I get that in writing, please? What's funny about that is I kind of compartmentalize it a bit
Yeah.
between people I know and then like, oh, boomers, and
Right.
and that, because in my head, we're all, I guess, younger than we actually are, because I'm like, oh, I'm still a kid, and my aunt and uncle, who are technically boomers or whatnot, like they're in their 20s, and
Right.
that's kind of my mindset. And I'm like, wait a minute, how old am I again? Like, I can do these things.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great perspective, because it's like once you know someone, I mean, things like age, it doesn't really matter. You're just
Right.
responding to who they are as a person.
Between my actual, I guess, my personal opinions of, I'm very thinking cognitively about people and who they are, and take them for who they are, and not the cover of the book, if you will,
Right.
of they're Gen Z or they're boomers or they're millennials or whatever it may be. And so, of course, when, all these different jokes, I'm never saying like, oh, boomer, like you're the worst
Right.
because you're a boomer. And just in general, I think that most people don't think about that in their life. I guess that may be an optimistic thinking of the, like, that people don't categorize people and write them off because of who they are.
Have you ever said thank boomer?
Oh,
Oh,
She has said it.
Well,
you
no,
know what? Never to someone who's actually a boomer, but if a millennial.
What
That's
did
even worse.
What did they do that made you
I
say
go, oh
that?
yeah, thanks, boomer. Yeah, like, okay, boomer. Like,
Well,
because
yeah.
I'm equating it with
Old.
all the stereotypes about, not being educated on technology, whatnot.
We
all
just
these different
proved that
things.
one.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to myth busting for a second. I
Yeah.
think that there's been proof where vice versa.
Right.
I mean, we talk about me being a previous student. Like, you've taught me things on technology. I go into your class and you show me all these different platforms and things that I can do, or market research, for marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it goes back to that, of what is actually the value of people and human connection. And then it's like, oh, well, I'm going to categorize it as, okay, boomer, and thanks, boomer, and
Right.
those things. But 100%, when this is, I'm not going to speak on for all Gen Z, because I don't have that ability.
We said that you are speaking for all Gen Z.
Oh
so-
boy. Oh boy.
Well, and I'm actually listening to you, and I'm thinking that may also be a trait of the Gen Z population. I think more and more there is this sort of level of acceptance, right? We're supposed to shed stereotypes, and I don't know if ageism is still a thing that's alive and well, but it seems like the conflict, if you will, and maybe that's a strong word, is between the millennials, who are using that boomer term a lot because they're maybe in the workforce with them, or there's a more of a generational challenge. Yeah.
I think 100%. And I don't want to give too much credit to my generation, because I think that there's a lot there, Tide Pods, that might be some issues, but it's with any generation. Wisdom is taught throughout and pushed on, and you take it and you run with it.
So you don't have any specific myths that you'd like us to bust then?
I think you guys have done an excellent job doing Mythbusters upon, like, what you could do for your age, being like, well, health and wellness,
Mhm.
like that. I think is tremendously a misconception that people have is like, oh, as soon as you're old or whatever, that's the word, right? Oh, you're
Mhm.
old, you're 60 plus. Like, no,
Oh, okay.
absolutely not.
I didn't know where you were going there
Well,
for a
and the
second.
other thing that I really, really like about how you said that some of the stuff that we do is really more for anybody. And
Right.
yeah, it's not just, 60 plus that, people
That's
younger than that can.
I tell people all the time. I'm like, hey, listen to this anyways, because being our social media coordinator, I mean, Joe, you asked me in the beginning, like, oh, what does that entail? But for me, like a personal, I've learned so much because I mean, of course, like we can talk and do these things, but this podcast has really opened my eyes to things that I just haven't experienced yet, or I don't have the wisdom. I think that is the thing. I just haven't had those life experiences yet
Mhm.
of even, I think there was an episode on Together But Apart,
Mhm.
like just different perspectives of making a relationship work. I've only had the relationships that I've had, I haven't had a husband or partner or whatnot.
Mhm.
And so I can't speak from that experience and learning that and those dynamics, being able to take someone else's knowledge and apply it to my own life is so beneficial. And so when I talk about wellness and health, listening to that and, what are some things that might benefit me down the line, like longevity, about joints and managing pain and different things like that,
Mhm.
hugely beneficial for all ages. That's what I wish people would hear when they hear boomer, is that we are all people. And I know that sounds corny of like, oh, we're
Mhm.
all people, we're all one, like, and I can hear my peers saying, well, this is this that, but
Right.
of course everyone does that. I can say that about myself,
Yeah.
like my siblings, I'm like, I'm sorry guys, I set you up for failure, or whatever it is. And I think it's just part of being people. But yeah, 100%. I'm the biggest champion on being like, listen to the 60 plus podcast.
Well, and
Doesn't
that's
matter if you're not 60 plus,
Well, and that's part of the reason why we love you, Sophia, and we are so happy that you came on board with us and have helped us navigate through our social media and our growth. And you've been such a bright light for us, and we really appreciate you coming on today and talking with us about
Yeah.
how to navigate social media and also giving your beautiful perspective that you just did. And it's very
Yeah,
heartfelt.
of course. I think as long as you edit out every time I use the word like. Sorry, Joe, adding another task to your plate.
Joe is on it. It might be late, but he's on it.
Okay. 48 episodes. One is late. So. Well,
Yeah, of how many? That's pretty good.
I just want to make one thing clear here, though.
Yes.
We could have done the social media. We're just too busy recording the podcast and coming up with ideas. And we decided we were going to. We could have done it.
Well, you don't have to be defensive about it, Joe. This is a point.
Okay, boomer.
I was going to say, this is a point where I wanted to remain ignorant.
All right. Sophia, thank you so much for coming on the 60
thank you
Plus
for
podcast.
teaching
Yeah,
us.
thank you for thinking of me, both in hiring me and for having me on.
Yeah, it's been great. And
you're more than welcome.
Yeah, so we will talk to you soon.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Until next time, this has been the 60 Plus podcast. Listen for free on all your podcast sources. I'm Joe.
I'm Janet. Bye.